Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we've traveled out to Pace, Germany to get an up-close and personal in-depth look at some of their more unique and special inventory, including this Maserati MC12. Well, if you can't tell from the windows behind me, it's actually snowing outside, and while it's very pretty, we can't really do anything out there. So they're allowing us to use their showroom. We're going to get a full in-depth tour of the vehicle. I'm going to talk about what makes the MC12 so unique and special against the Enzo. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Unlike the Enzo, which was designed from the get-go to be a street-legal supercar, the MC12 was born on homologation needs for Maserati to re-enter FIA GT racing, of which it saw great success in the years following its introduction. In order to compete at the time, manufacturers were required to produce a minimum of 25 road-going versions to be made available to the public. That was Maserati's initial plan, limiting the car to 25 units, all of which were pre-sold before the car's official debut at the 2004 Geneva Motor Show. With a number of racing victories soon after alongside high demand, a second batch of 25 cars was scheduled for 2005. From the factory, all road-going MC12s came painted in the stunning pearl white over blue color combo. While some have been legally imported and federalized, the MC12 was never originally homologated for sale in the United States, making it an incredibly hard car to come by. Despite being based on the Enzo's platform and sharing some core mechanical bits, the Maserati is a bit more tame in some respects, more grand touring if you will, while being significantly larger and rarer. Aside from sharing the same windshield as the Enzo, the MC12 is pure Maserati, boasting a distinct look and feel that combines both power and luxury. With a 5.9-inch longer wheelbase, overall length was stretched by 17.5 inches, width expanded by 2.6 inches, while height rose by 2.2 inches due to the MC12's air snorkel. The sleeker body led to a lower drag coefficient than the Enzo while boosting downforce at higher speeds for greater control on the track. To put that into context, the static weight distribution positions 59% of the car's heft at the rear. Above 125 miles an hour, that percentage rises to 66%. Like Ferrari did with the FXX, Maserati also offered a track-only variant of the MC12 known as the Corsa. The MC12's GT nature is quite evident with its interior. Like the Enzo, it's pretty bare bones, very simple and straightforward, but it's far more elegant. Amongst all the exposed carbon fiber and metal trim is a significant amount of premium blue leather, unique cloth accents, electric windows, and even an elegant analog clock in the center stack. There's no radio to obscure the soundtrack of the V12, but air conditioning came standard to keep things comfortable. The biggest difference from the Enzo was the MC12's removable carbon roof panel, transported into an open-top roadster in no time. The only downside is that the roof cannot be stored in the car due to the lack of storage space. Similar to the Enzo, the MC12 is built on top of a carbon fiber chassis with front and rear aluminum subframes. It's all wrapped in carbon composite bodywork. Through intensive wind tunnel testing, the air intakes, vents, and other various aerodynamic components were all designed to optimize airflow, downforce, and component cooling based around the MC12's unique properties and functional requirements. Up front, a wide fascia opening channels air to two large intakes that feed a pair of radiators. That air is then expunged via slats in the middle of the bonnet, which directs air over the windshield and towards the rear to add downforce. Positive pressure is reduced up front via the louvered wheel arches. Everything else from the vents behind the front wheels to the vents ahead of the rear wheels and the open mesh at the tail help carry air through the body, again for downforce and aerodynamic efficiency. In the rear, quad exhaust tips sit at the outer edges to make room for a huge rear diffuser. In conjunction with the flat underbody, it all sucks the car closer to the ground at higher speeds. The most striking thing out back is the slender and incredibly wide carbon wing and subtle spoiler in the upper tail section. It delivers more downforce than the Enzo's adjustable rear wing. When it launched, the MC12 came with a price tag of €600,000 or just under $800,000. The MC12's wheel and tire package consists of asymmetric 19-inch forged aluminum alloys, measuring 9 inches wide up front and 13 inches wide in the rear. The wheels also use central locking hubs, but in this case they're color-coded red on the driver's side and blue on the passenger side. From the factory, they were wrapped in high-performance Pirelli P0 Corsa tires, two 45-35s in front and three 45-35s in the rear. In contrast, the Enzo came with Bridgestone Potenza Scuderia tires. The MC12 also features a high-performance Brembo braking system consistent of cross-drilled and internally ventilated discs. These are cast iron rotors, while the Enzo used carbon ceramics. The front discs measure 15 by 1.3 inches, while the rear discs are slightly smaller, measuring 13.2 by 1.26 inches. They're clamped down by 6-piston and 4-piston aluminum calipers respectively. Anti-lock brakes and traction control came standard. The latter, otherwise known as ASR, is altered when in race mode or can be switched off by a press of a button in the center stack. With this setup, the MC12 could stop from 60 miles an hour in about 108 feet. The F1-derived horizontally opposed pushrod coil suspension actuates a set of upper and lower A-arms in the front and rear, both with anti-squat and anti-dive geometries. While the Enzo came with adjustable dampers, the MC12s were fixed rate and a bit more compliant, improving impact absorption and ride quality over the Enzo. Overall length is 202.5 inches with a width of 82.7 inches and a height of 47.4 inches. Wheelbase is 110.2 inches while curb weight is around 3,142 pounds, 59% of that weight rides over the rear. The MC12 borrows a modified variant of the Enzo's 6-liter mid-mounted all-aluminum 65-degree V12. Power is delivered to the rear wheels through an electro-hydraulic 6-speed automated manual gearbox with launch control. Changing gears must be done manually via the paddles behind the steering wheel. No automatic mode was available. Shift times are as quick as 150 milliseconds when in race mode. The MC12 also features power rack and pinion steering with a 14:1 ratio that takes 2.8 turns to lock. It's all routed through a 3-spoke steering wheel with a combination of glossy carbon fiber and perforated leather. The various multifunction controls, including drive modes, traction settings, reverse, and the front-end lift system have been relocated to the center console in comparison to the Enzo. The MC12 also does without the Enzo's LED shift light indicator in the steering wheel. The turn signals and wipers are routed through traditional column-mounted stalks, whereas the horn buttons are within grip bolsters at 10 and 2. The naturally aspirated engine weighs around 511 pounds and features 4 gear-driven camshafts compared to the Enzo's chain-driven cams, along with 4 valves per cylinder, port fuel injection, variable intake and exhaust valve timing, and a revised dry sump lubrication system. A Bosch Motronic ME7 engine control system modulates each bank of cylinders, which are linked to a drive-by-wire throttle. Everything from the ECU to the pistons were specifically tuned to work in harmony with a required 33mm intake restrictor. The compression ratio is rated at 11.2 to 1. While the Enzo developed 660 horsepower and 485 pound-feet of torque, the MC12 developed 624 horsepower at 7,500 RPM and 481 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 RPM. The Enzo's maximum engine speed was 8,200 RPM, while the MC12 setup peaks at 7,700 RPM. With these numbers, the Maserati is able to accelerate to 62 miles an hour in just 3.8 seconds, while passing the quarter mile in about 11.7 seconds and travel to a top speed of over 205 miles per hour. At idle, the MC12 also features a set of electronically controlled bypass valves in the rear mufflers to keep the car relatively docile at idle, for a V12 supercar at least. They will progressively open to unleash the MC12's full potential based on throttle position, engine speed, and speed of travel, varying accordingly. The MC12 carries a huge 30-gallon fuel tank and requires the use of premium unleaded. Fuel economy ratings should be comparable to the Enzo, which was rated by the EPA between 7 miles per gallon in the city and 12 miles to a gallon on the highway. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth tour of the Maserati MC12. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care guys.